Hello, my name is April and I'm based in Tokyo, Japan. So today I'll tell you a little bit about my experience in Japan as far as music scene, what I saw, bands I was working with had to do, and how my own business changed or adjusted for the times, and then, of course, what we hope for 2021. So, first of all, January 2020 was as normal. We had just finished the shows in early January for a UK hip hop group called, well, duo, Bars and Melody. They do pretty well here in Japan, and they come to Japan. They try every year with the hopes for spreading into an all Asia tour. It was successful, everything seemed fine. I had about 14 bands from overseas. These would be independent and small label bands that were going to come to Japan for tours between March and November of 2020. That was all lined up and set. We were good to go. And also, we had plans of taking a small label Japanese band I work with to the United States to do shows in Memphis, Tennessee, and New York City. By February, things were starting to change, but nothing major because there was the thought that, oh, this is going to pass pretty soon. Japan's borders had not closed, so certainly any tours in April and May, it looked like, hey, sure, come on over. Make sure you have your tickets, make sure your hotel room is there. The venues are not closed, there's no problem. Come on down. And as if you check the news, COVID was not really hitting Japan very hard at that time. Little by little, though, things started closing. Borders were closing to various people. The large events at arenas and the large 10,000 plus venues, 8,000 plus venues had decided to postpone. So they were moving their spring shows into summer or fall because, of course, we thought, oh, it'll be over by summer, no problem. So the large things were postponing. The regular music venues, and in Tokyo alone, we have about 750 regular size live music venues. Those range from micro venues that maybe only have a capacity of 15 people. That's 1 5, 15 people as audience, up to about 250. Of course, there are 300 and 400 and 500 capacity venue, but the daily live house is in that range. At that time, they were all still open and operating as usual with multiple bands every night, 7 nights a week. But by the time we got to March, many of them were deciding to close for a month or 2 months. Again, thinking, oh, by summer or fall, this will all be over. Some of the live houses did not close. They kept operating as normal. Just instead of maybe booking 7 bands a night, they would only book 4. If a band needed to cancel rather than a usual penalty, it was like, no problem, go ahead. See you soon. As far as my work at that time, of course, going to venues or booking bands at venues was difficult. They weren't accepting bookings. The overseas bands were starting to need to cancel because they were not going to be able to leave their own country. Japan borders were closed, so they could not enter Japan. So for me, I was still quite busy because the tours that were booked, I then had to cancel, attempt to find a local band if the venue wanted to refill the spot, because of course many of them were still open, and then of course work on rescheduling the overseas band. It became kind of difficult to reschedule the overseas bands because with borders closed, venues don't know when the borders will open. So they're very hesitant to, should we reschedule for this November? Should we reschedule for next spring? What should we do? So it was a bit chaotic in that. Of course, we had to cancel our overseas tours, and we, at that point, by summer, any large scale events that we were working on or associates were working on were pretty much canceled for the rest of 2020. So what did I do, or bands that I know do? Well, I ended up switching to some more educational work with bands, teaching them how to use your social media better, make a better social media presence, set up for live streaming, maybe making plans on songwriting and recording that they could do. Venues that I know, again, some were closed. So there's some government supplemental programs to help venues. Some of them did crowdfunding for support, like pre selling tickets or goods or merchandise for later. The venues that remained open and never closed and are still open and operating today, they put up safety measures, clear plastic curtains, like a vinyl curtain between the stage and the audience. All audience members have to wear a mask, taping squares on the floor so people would stand in the various squares to keep social distancing, alcohol spray at the doorway, checking temperatures at the doorway. And those venues also went to only allowing about 30% capacity inside. So if it's a 100-person venue, of course, only 30 people can come in. They cannot sell fully. Many of these venues started doing hybrid shows where, for the usual price of entry, you can come. So they sell their 30% capacity at usual price. Come see the show in person, be able to talk to the band afterwards, buy your merch. And then for a lower price, an audience member could buy a live streaming ticket so they can still watch the show, less cost, do it from the comfort of their home. Of course, you're not getting that in person experience, but due to COVID, a lot of people would like to avoid that. It's a bit difficult for venues because even with live streaming and a live streaming audience, they're not making the income that they were before. On the other hand, they don't need quite as many staff members at the venue, so their outlay is not quite as high, which brings the negative that some staff members, of course, were temporarily let go, or if they were part timers on just regular, they were let go, with the possibility that once things pick up again, that they should come back to the venue if they have not found other employment. So, there's some pros, cons, and pros to the whole situation there. A lot of bands who had not thought of doing live stream before did decide to do live streaming, and that is from very small up and coming bands to even large scale bands that could fill an arena. They started doing some live streaming to keep the interest in them up, to keep their fan activity up, and of course, to bring in money. Let's see, what else? Of course, feel free to ask questions on the video, and I'll be checking the video for any questions that you might have. Uh, what's the main change I'm seeing? I think that the main change I'm seeing is more bands are taking advantage of live streaming or doing in-studio lives that they're recording and putting onto their social media channels. They are actually making more of a attempt to reach out through social media that many bands in Japan had not been doing before. Now they're realizing that social media can be a great tool to not only try to reach new people, but keep the connection with the fans that they already have. Right now, here it is December. Things are starting to pick up, it seems, even though the news is saying the COVID cases in Japan are increasing at an alarming rate. Later this month, we have an outdoor show at a Christmas market that's expected to have a couple of thousand people in attendance. Of course, it is outdoors, so that should not be a problem. And even later this month, we are attending and observing an event at Saitama Super Arena, which has a capacity of 37,000 people. We're not selling to full capacity. I'm under the understanding they're selling at 50% capacity, so still we're going to be talking maybe 17,000 people perhaps in the arena for the concert, and then there will be the live streaming option for that. So we'll see how it goes. Um, fingers are crossed. Japan says that the borders will open April 1st for tourists. So the 14 bands that were going to come in 2020, we have 10 of them wanting to come in 2021. So currently we're working on rebooking those tours between the May and November of 2021. Because the government has said that the borders will open April 1st, venues are starting to be open to rescheduling in those bands. So we hope that we can continue those tours. And what it's looking like from internal word is some of the larger events will be happening next year. We're supposed to host the Olympics here because it was postponed to 2020 to 2021. So we'll have the Olympics in the summer, and that means to large scale concert promoters that it seems they can start doing like a Fuji Rock or Summer Sonic or similar large festivals again starting next year, having them in person. Again, capacity may be reduced on some of those events, especially ones that would be indoors just for safety, but the buzz is vaccine is coming, borders are opening. I think people are trying to look at it as positive. So continue as normal, but still with some additional safety requirements as far as temperature, alcohol, uh, potential social distancing, not selling everything at 100 capacity, but maybe getting it to a point of 80% capacity. Movie theaters here and some concert halls are selling at 100% capacity as sort of a test. I don't know how I feel about that kind of test. I don't want to be in the 100% capacity filled movie theater around a lot of people. I'm happier if it was 80%, but they're trying it. They're going to try and see what happens. And if it goes well, then they will continue doing that. But all in all, I would say 2020 has been a year of some ups and downs. It's not all bad. We've been able to work with a lot of bands on education and helping them with social media, encouraging them to make a creation schedule and plan so that they're writing more songs and recording more songs. And certainly, even the fan to band interaction is actually somewhat improved in some cases because social media, they can reply to many comments. Whereas if it's an in person thing, there's only so many people that you can talk to at an event. As far as some of our overseas acts that came, again, some are coming again. Bars and Melody will be planning with again for next year, and in case not just Japan, but trying to do an all Asia tour for 2021. So some of the other people at this event, I'll be working with them to coordinate shows in Taiwan, Singapore, Korea, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, to kind of do an all Asia event to involve that band plus some local bands at each show, and kind of make a nice little tour circuit for them that can help that band, local bands, local music industry come together in something enjoyable for 2021. Again, if you have any questions, because possibly I have not answered everything, it's a little difficult on camera to do this. Please ask questions and I'm happy to answer them. Until then, please stay safe, secure, and keep listening to music. Thank you.